Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Tyler's Tiger Talk. So I did this video yesterday. It got deleted somehow after the encode. If you don't know what encode is, it just pretty much makes the file size of a video smaller so that it's easier to upload to YouTube. And for some reason, it just disappeared. So I'm redoing this video again today. I didn't have time to redo it yesterday. Obviously school, so I had to just wait till today to do the second video. So this video's I'm gonna be kind of analyzing. I've watched the Ole Miss game over again. I've watched the highlights at least 7,000 times, like a lot of other LSU fans. So I've seen this game so many times, I could almost recite it in my head. So I'm gonna go over this, obviously, and after that, my next couple videos, up until Bama, will be mostly about Bama and this LSU team as a whole. I'm gonna try not to, I'll touch on Ole Miss, but I'll also touch on Florida. This will probably be my last video focusing just on Ole Miss, and then towards the end of the video, I'll kind of break away from Ole Miss and talk more Bama, because obviously this is the week people think of the most about LSU. This is the couple of weeks to get excited for. I can tell you as an LSU fan, every single Bama week and week before, I'm watching Nick Saban press conferences. I'm watching or whoever's the head coach of LSU press conferences. I'm watching highlights of Bama and LSU, this and that. This is probably the most focused on week any LSU fan is about LSU football. So we're gonna get into Bama. We have obviously a week and 2 days till the Bama game, so a lot of prep time. LSU football players will have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. Brian Kelly said obviously they're not going to be able to go party and do whatever they want, but they have those 3 days off to kind of rest and recover, which is good. And you're getting some players back. You're getting Dellinger back and Major Burns back, which is good. So, and then also I found out, so I think John Emery hurts, maybe it was his ankle or something was hurting, and I guess Brian Kelly said we got Josh Williams and we have Goodwin. We're not gonna risk it. So John Emery sat out that whole game. I was wondering, I was talking to my friends during the game, and I'm like, we haven't seen John Emery once, so that was why he got a little hurt. And you obviously need a back like John Emery, so he's got a couple weeks to get ready for the Bama game. So on Sunday, I kind of went over the game. I didn't do too much analysis. I didn't talk about the play-by-plays or anything like that. I kind of just went over the game as a whole and what I took from it. Obviously, you got off to a slow start, which has been the story of this LSU team since the beginning, getting off to slow starts and kind of revamping in the second half. The only team you really didn't do that to was Tennessee. You just got beat everywhere on the field, and you got behind way too early. And you can't do that against good teams, especially Tennessee, and also play poor. Because not only did LSU get behind to Tennessee, they just continued to play poor. And you can't do that against a team like Tennessee. Obviously, after the Tennessee game, you snap back, you beat Florida, and you beat Ole Miss. And then now you can talk about a possibility of beating Bama. So the Ole Miss game, you get off to a rocky start. If you're me, if you like me as an LSU fan, you were kind of worried in the beginning. I was worried a little bit, but then in the back of my head, I remembered, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to show off the beat Bama shirt. But you're a little worried, and then I'm like, why the hell am I worried? And I'm telling my friends, because I was at the game. I was telling my friends, I was like, this is what happens every single time. Just settle in. We'll come back. And obviously we did. And we came back, went big, went on a 42-3 run. It was insane. So the first drive, Ole Miss drives downfield. They came out the gun passing, something I said they might do. I said, Ole Miss is known for running. LSU's going to prepare for the run. So don't be surprised if they come out and pass. I said that in a video. My Ole Miss video before the Ole Miss game. If you don't believe me, you can go back, check the video, and you'll find where I said Ole Miss might come out the gun passing. And they did. First, so special teams obviously is improved, but you did have that offsides on the first play of the game. It's like that too is like, oh no. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come, and it wasn't, but it's scary. So you have that 9-yard pass first play of the game from Jackson Dart. Then he completed a 24-yard pass to Watkins. So they're driving downfield. Then they could complete 37-yard to Mingo, their best receiver, or at least one of their best receivers, for 37 yards. Then they're at the goal line. Then Judkins runs it in for a touchdown. And if you're an LSU fan, you're like, oh Lord, here we go. Hopefully this isn't part 2 Tennessee. And then you're like, oh well, we do this all the time, so you just gotta have to keep faith. LSU drives downfield. Ultimately, so you had a touchdown to Brian Thomas. You underthrow him, but you drew the penalty. Then you have a touchdown to Kayshawn. You overthrew him. Then you have that touchdown to, was that Neighbors in the back of the end zone? He just couldn't quite get to, he made the catch, he just couldn't quite get a foot into the end zone. He was pushed out by the defender. And then that was third down, and then fourth down, you get a field goal. Ole Miss drives downfield again. They leave affecting passing game. Malik Heath, who shined in the beginning of the game, probably was one of Ole Miss's best receivers on Saturday. And then you have the penalty of pass interference. Then Jackson Dart gets out the pocket and runs. And then that ultimately leads down to not too many big plays. You have another pass interference. Incomplete pass. But they just drive downfield gradually. Score. So you're now down 14-3. LSU drives downfield. Not that LSU's even doing that bad right now. They're not. They let your first drive was an effective drive. You just couldn't get it done. You overthrew Kayshawn, which would have been a touchdown, and then you underthrew the play previous to that, or 2 plays previous to that. I think you underthrew Brian Thomas Jr. Yes, he got the penalty, but you underthrew him. If you would have threw it just a little bit farther, that's a touchdown. So LSU drives downfield. Armani Goodwin had a big run, 19 yards. And you ultimately have to go for a field goal on 4th and 8, and you miss the field goal, 42-yard field goal. So it almost shows you, okay, you either punt when you're further than 40 yards out. I mean, you either punt or you just go for it, and I think you just go for it because you don't have a strong kicker. We'll see what happens in a situation like that, because you're gonna have against Bama, you're gonna have situations like that to where, okay, our kicker might not make this. It might just be smarter to go for it or even punt it short and give them really bad field position. So it's now 14-3, and Ole Miss drives down the field. Jackson Dart again throwing, targeting Jordan Watkins and Malik Heath. Malik Heath had 2 back-to-back big plays on this drive. I mean, 16 yards, and then the play after, the next play, he has another 27-yarder. Ultimately, Ole Miss on this drive has to settle for a 30-yard field goal, but they're still getting points, and you're down 14 now. You're down 17-3, 14 points you're down by. You're down by 2 scores. It's scary. But ultimately the next drive, you drive downfield for a touchdown. Elite Neighbors had a good 17-yard gain to start off the drive. Normani Goodwin for another 5. An 11-yard run by Josh Williams. Jane Daniel had another 13-yard run. And then you have a 34-yard touchdown pass to Jere Jenkins. This play was a scary play, especially because there was so much anticipation. There's like, you got 2 guys downfield, and Jane Daniels throws this ball late. Jere Jenkins is a veteran. He's one of your best receivers. He comes up, makes the catch, because I think the Ole Miss fans, defenders, I think they were so focused on where the ball was, they forgot where Jere Jenkins was. So he just kind of goes in front of them, slides past them, makes the catch, and rolls around right out into the end zone for a touchdown. So scary. Ball could have been delivered a little bit sooner, but still results in a touchdown. Then you make Ole Miss punt. Then you score another touchdown. So you have that 37-yard pass complete to Mason Taylor. 38 yards. I think that was that sideline. Was that sideline pass? Jane Daniels got sacked for 2 yards. Then you had that that pass for Kayshawn, who got run after catch, and that was 20 yards. And then it's 1st and goal. Jane Daniels makes a good read. I think Josh Williams was the back on this play. He makes a good read. Josh Williams, then the defender on the edge comes out, because he's looking for Josh Williams. He thinks Josh Williams has the ball. Jane Daniels keeps it, makes a guy miss, and then goes in for a touchdown. If I don't know the percentage, I can't tell you the percentage on LSU, what LSU's on the goal line is right now, like what their touchdown percentage is, but it has to be in the 90s. I mean, once Jaden Daniels gets to the 10-yard line, he's just dangerous. Like, he can throw it, or a touchdown, or he can run. And most likely he's going to run when LSU gets on that goal line. Jaden Daniels is going to run, probably hit the edge most of the time. He's just so good at getting the edge. He's going to beat the linebackers and sometimes even the defensive backs, cornerbacks, safeties, whatever, to get into the end zone. He's just so good at that. Then Ole Miss drives downfield. I'm not going to go because I did a lot of analysis yesterday, so I'm not going to go too far in because it's already Wednesday night even. So you probably heard this from most people. So I'm not going to heard analysis from most people. So I'm not going to go too deep into the game like I usually do. But I'm just going to kind of summarize these drives and summarize. So I'm not going to go too deep into, but this is the last time Ole Miss scores and it's on a field goal. Again, they get a few yards, then they have a big 17-yard pass to Malik Heath. It was just an animal for them in the beginning. So they drive downfield. Then you have a 31-yard pass to Malik Heath. Just he did phenomenal. He was scary. I even watching it. Every other pass was to Malik Heath, and I was like, crap, we just cannot cover this guy. Eventually, we found their poison, but yeah. Then Jackson Dart run for 10 yards, incomplete pass. Then it's 3rd and 15. Perkins comes up big, gets a sack. Just an animal. And I'm gonna talk on Harold Perkins more, but he's just an animal. When he's on the field, you have this sense of security, like nothing's bad's gonna happen. He's just so fast off the edge, and he can bully O linemen. He can get around O linemen, outwork them, and he gets to that quarterback. And you best believe when he's in the backfield, he's going to get to that quarterback. I've seen Ojolari, I've seen Gay struggle sometimes to get to the quarterback, especially if it's a quicker quarterback. Harold Perkins, no. He gets to the quarterback if he's in the backfield and if you have the opportunity. Against Alabama, you're going to need Harold Perkins on that edge to disrupt Bryce Young. I mean, I'm going to get into this later. If you stop Bryce Young, you beat Alabama. You beat Alabama if you can stop Bryce Young and if you can get to him. If you can get to the quarterback, I believe LSU will have no problem scoring on Alabama's defense. I'm just worried if we will get outscored, and if you keep Harold Perkins in and you let him get to Bryce Young and affect Bryce Young, I think we can win that football game. But I'm gonna get to that more later. He's just an animal. But this is the last time Ole Miss scores. It's 20-17. LSU doesn't do much. Jaden Daniels was sacked actually twice in a row. On 2nd and 1, and then 3rd and 5. You had the opportunity to score again, and you didn't, which kind of sucked. That was my only downer of the game. It's like, okay, you have momentum. You kept them to 3, scored a touchdown, and we could talk about this game even being worse off than it already was. You're talking about what? 52-20 if we would have scored again. Put another touchdown on the board, but we didn't. Ole Miss got the ball back for a few seconds. Eventually just ran the clock out into the 2nd quarter. So LSU gets the ball back. We punt again. So these drives I'm not going to go over much. You know what happens. This by most LSU fans knows what happened. Knows what happened by now. LSU just didn't really lead that effective of a drive coming out of the halftime. We punt. Then after we punt at the beginning of the third quarter, just LSU's defense dominates. They go Judkins no game, and then Dart has 2 incomplete passes, and they have to punt. So let's see. LSU gets the ball back and ultimately scores. Jane Daniels. I'm just looking for the big plays. You kind of drive downfield a little bit with the run. Ole Miss has a pass interference, allowing you to go downfield. And then you have that you ultimately drive downfield, and then you have that touchdown pass to Mason Taylor, where it looks like a Jaden Daniels run, but ultimately Mason Taylor comes out of his I don't even think he tried to block. Maybe he tried to fake block, I don't know, but he came out around and scored a touchdown. And let's see. Ole Miss drives downfield. So this was the drive where Jackson Dart ran it on 4th down and didn't get it. For some reason the officials didn't feel the need to review, which was kind of BS. I mean, thank God, because you might be talking about a different game here. Still think LSU would have won, but you're talking about a closer game and a scarier game if LSU doesn't intercept that pass later on. But they didn't review. He didn't get the first down, but they didn't review it. If you watch that play over again, it was 4th and 1. Jackson Dart ran it, and they said he got it. But if you were to watch that play again, it shows that he didn't get it. They didn't review it, but later on, Baskerville gets pressure. So at this point, Jackson Dart's just getting pressured almost every play. He's having to run a bunch. Part Harold Perkins being on the field, yes, but just LSU's defense just dominating, and you have that pressure from Baskerville. Dart makes a bad throw because of it, and then you had Boucher with a one-handed interception. It was insane, just insane. Hand-eye coordination, just the ability to bring that ball in was insane. So it's still 24 to 14 at this point. Boucher kneels it in the end zone, so you get the ball on the 25-yard line. Is it 20-yard line they get it on? Or 20? I can't remember. But no, you got it at the 20. Excuse me. Then you have a complete pass to Joe Jenkins for 17 yards. And you run it a little bit downfield. Josh Williams is just so good at getting those first downs. Like on this drive, it was Josh Williams for 5, Josh Williams for 4, and Josh Williams for 2. If you can do that against teams like Alabama and stuff, you're going to win the game. You're going to wear down that defensive line. And if you can run an effective run game and pass game, you're just going to destroy teams. And LSU's found that rhythm where they can run and they can pass. And you just keep the defense guessing. And our offensive line, the past 2 weeks, has just looked like a totally different O-line. Just so good. They've gotten so much better with run blocking and pass blocking. And LSU can now lead effective games where you're beating teams by 25 or 11 points. And that's another thing I want to touch on, but before I forget about it, if LSU beats Ole Miss, let's say 28-24, you're not that confident that they'll beat Alabama. or not even that confident if they'll beat Arkansas. But not only did LSU beat Ole Miss, they dominated Ole Miss. Dominated Ole Miss. Ole Miss didn't score a point in the second half. Not a point. So that is why we're kind of in the conversation of, can LSU beat Alabama? And you're only in that conversation because how LSU played and how effective they were on Saturday. So after that first down from Josh Williams, you have a complete pass to Butte for 12 yards, then another 14-yard pass to Brian Thomas Jr. Just effective routes. You're killing them. One of my favorite things that LSU does is it might not be the most entertaining thing to watch sometimes, but 10 yards, come back, curl route. 15 yards, come back, curl route. Your wide receivers are better. I think it's even safe to say that your wide receivers are better than any cornerback right now in the SEC. Like, most of the time, your wide receivers are going to win battles against defensive backs. Not all the time, but most of the time, LSU's wide receivers are just that good. And it's one thing to have one really good wide receiver, a decent wide receivers, and then it trickles down from there. But you have so many good wide receivers. You have Brian Thomas Jr., who's just big, and you could trust to throw it up to him, and he's going to make a touchdown or a big play. You have Kayshon Boutte, probably one of the best receivers in college football, if not the best. You see it when he's getting double teamed all the time. When you say, "Oh, well, we haven't seen much from Kayshon," yeah, because he's getting double teamed most of the time. Now that LSU's other receivers are starting to click, it's giving Kayshon a little more room. But probably one of the best receivers. You have the veteran Jaray Jenkins, who doesn't get enough talk. I think Jaray Jenkins is so good at beating receivers down the field. A lot of our deep balls and touchdowns that we have so far are because of Jaray Jenkins. Who am I forgetting? Malik Neighbors. Physical. Good receiver. Good at running his routes. Good at run after catch. You have those receivers. Now Lacey is starting to get a little fired up. You have him. You have Jack Bash, who's been hurt throughout the season occasionally, but a really good receiver and who can make big plays, just very strong and physical after the catch. Who's going to be back for the Alabama game? So you will have so many good receivers. Receivers that are better than most defensive backs. And you see it here. You got 12 yards with Butte, 14 yards with Brian Thomas Jr. Then Kyron Lacey, who we've been seeing a little bit more for 11. So he had 11 yards. And then after that, Jaden Daniels runs it in for 11-yard TD. So just so many good receivers you can rely on. And you need to play big against Alabama. You need to be able to drive downfield and score a touchdown. Either your first, you get the ball, if say you're receiving the ball, you go downfield, you score a touchdown. If you defer, you stop them on offense, you go down there, score a touchdown. Even if they score on offense, you score back and make it tie. Like, you have to be able to score effectively, and I think we have the right receivers and personnel to do it. And Ole Miss gets the ball back. This is the drive where Harold Perkins had a sportsmanlike conduct for saying for words, which is stupid. But ultimately, if you didn't see, I think if it was the same play that played before, the O lineman had pushed Harold Perkins' face into the ground I don't know if it was able to see on TV, but they didn't call that. See, but ultimately, it's 3rd and 3. There was holding, so now it's 3rd and 13. And it was, let's see. It was 4th and 11, and there was a legal formation, so it was 4th and 16. So then they have to punt. LSU's defense, obviously, I'm not going to go over the rest of Ole Miss drives because got to know what happened from there. LSU gets the ball back. Brian Thomas gets 12 yards. Then you get a couple yards on the ground. Malik Neighbors for 7. Jane Daniels for a 10-yard run. Jane Daniels for 11-yard run. Jane Daniels for a 17-yard run. And so, I mean, just this drive alone, you have 10 yards. Then you have another 11. And then you have another 17. I mean, he's just 17-yard TD too. She's just so good. And how the hell is Alabama's this is what gives me hope about the offense is you have your running backs who can be dangerous on the ground. You have Jaden Daniels, who's been dangerous on the ground and who will be dangerous on the ground against Alabama. Very effective. You saw it with Joe Burrow in 2019. He was able to run against Alabama, and he's not close to being as fast as Jaden Daniels. I'm telling you, LSU has more of an edge than people think. So you make it 38-20. On 4th and 8 of an Ole Miss's drive. Ole Miss doesn't really get much on this drive, but it's 4th and 8, and BJ Olari and Wingo take him down for a sack on 4th and 8. LSU gets the ball back. Just driving it downfield with a run. 6-yard run, Armani Goodwin. 5-yard run, Armani Goodwin. 4-yard run, Armani Goodwin. Jane Daniels runs for 10 yards. Josh Williams runs for another 5 yards. Jane Daniels runs for 4 yards. Josh Williams for 3 yards. Josh Williams for a touchdown. Not one pass play on that drive. It was a 38-yard drive, so you had the ball at good field position, but you didn't run the ball. I mean, you didn't pass the ball once. You just ran it downfield, and that shows how effective you can be. Ole Miss gets the ball back. Doesn't get much. Sacked. And what's his name? Jackson Dart fumbled the ball and 0 seconds and the game was over. So just a absolute dominant second half for LSU. I can't remember if it was the first half or second half. I get some of these mixed up just from almost watching the game too much. There was one play where Wingo had it deep, but Jackson Dart just couldn't connect, I guess. But I guess that would have been kind of hope for Ole Miss. But either way, LSU wins that ball. What is this game? 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times out of 10. I just don't think Ole Miss ever had a chance. The way that LSU dominated, and now I'm going to get into Alabama. The way that LSU dominated shows you, okay, they have potential to upset Alabama. Because if LSU wins this game by 3 or 4 or even a touchdown, you're like, okay, you beat Ole Miss, who hasn't really played anyone by a touchdown. Good for you. But we beat them by 4 scores. And absolutely dominated them in the second half. And I said this on Sunday, and then I heard it. I forget what show I was watching, but I heard it again. It's like they were talking about, okay, is LSU have to get a feel for the offense, for the opponent's offense, and then make adjustments according, and then they dominate. Like, do you take punches and punches and punches? Sometimes in boxing, if you're a defensive boxer, sometimes you'll just take those punches. You'll let your opponent wear out. You'll take the punches, and then you know what your opponent's doing, and you can now read your opponent, and then you come out and then you start throwing punches because now your opponent's tired, and you're ready to bring the fight and their run down. So maybe that's what LSU's doing. Even if Alabama's up by 14 points, say Alabama gets the ball, scores, LSU gets the ball, doesn't. Alabama gets the ball back, scores. It's now 14-0. I think LSU can come back. LSU just have to score on their drive, stop Alabama. I don't think this game is far in reach as some people think it out to be. I'm not calling my pick right now. I haven't been wrong to pick yet. And will you like, whoa, Florida State? I wasn't doing these podcasts and sports analysis until after Florida State. So technically I didn't call Florida State at all. But I haven't been wrong yet. But I'm not gonna make my pick yet. Oops. I'm gonna wait till next week to do that. But I haven't been wrong yet. I have, obviously, like most people, I have Bama winning right now, as of now. Like, what do you mean as of now? Nothing's gonna change. It's not LSU's gonna play more game, but I'm gonna get into that later. But I have Bama picked for now. I'm gonna get more into the analysis of it later. Next week, I may have LSU winning it. You don't know. But for the past few weeks, I've had Bama by like 2 or 3 touchdowns. Now I would have them at a touchdown or 3 points. Could just have LSU's play. You dominated 2 teams in a row, and Jaden Daniels is playing out of his mind. Good, Heisman. Good. I don't think he's gonna win the Heisman this year just because how LSU has performed in the beginning of the year. But if he comes back, I think you're talking about winning a ring, and you're talking about winning a Heisman. You're talking about a 2019 type of year. So, we're not there yet. But LSU, with this Ole Miss game, LSU shows you they have potential to win the West and go to the SEC championship. Potential. Not that they will, but they show you that they can. And I think that's a huge deal now because you talk about this a few weeks ago. You're not even talking about LSU beating Ole Miss or Florida. And now you're talking about them potentially going to the SEC championship. It's crazy how things can change. I mean, I've said almost every podcast, every video I've made to have hope in Jaden Daniels, and look where it's turned out. Man is playing out of his mind. He can run the ball. He can pass the ball. A lot of times with running quarterbacks is they're not very accurate. They can't throw the ball that deep. And they can't put the ball on the money. But Jaden Daniels can. And that's why he's so dangerous. He's so dangerous. And because Jaden Daniels, I think we have a chance at Alabama. And just the combination of both makes Daniels so good and so effective. If you just have Jaden Daniels' passing ability, which is also, it was still pretty good, but if you have just his passing ability, I don't think you have that much chance at Alabama. But the combination of two just makes him so dangerous. So dangerous. And I think LSU has a pathway to winning the West, and it's through Daniels. Jaden Daniels has played better and better each week. If Jaden Daniels plays better against Alabama, You're talking about a man who's at 100% already. If you push him to 110%, LSU's winning that football game. Now you've had 2 weeks. You had Florida, and you're like, okay, prove it to me. Prove it to me that this team's improved. And they did. They went to Ole Miss. Ole Miss came here. They went and beat Ole Miss. And they proved, not only beat Ole Miss, but dominated Ole Miss. And they proved to you that, okay, that wasn't just a fluke. That wasn't just a once in a lifetime, play, what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. We're not doing that once. We're going to continue to do it, and LSU showed you that they can. So, if you can do that against Alabama, you can win. I'm just worried about how LSU can stop Alabama's offense. Because there will be times when Alabama is going to stop you on offense. So can you stop them on offense? And I think that pathway in Harold Perkins is through Harold Perkins, and he showed you why on Saturday. He showed you why he needs to be on the field most of the time. Yes, you're going to be rotating players in different formations, but if Harold Perkins can disrupt Bryce Young, you're looking at an LSU win next Saturday. You can't convince me that if Harold Perkins can disrupt that path, it's not just Harold Perkins, obviously. He's not carrying the defense on his back, but he's such a good elite edge rusher. If he's hitting Bryce Young and Ojolari or Gay is hitting Bryce Young and getting to Bryce Young, you have a win on your hands. I think Alabama's defense is going to struggle with Jaden Daniels like they struggled with Hendon Hooker and the receivers at Tennessee. I think they're going to struggle. It's just, can LSU's defense outplay Alabama's offense? And we'll get more into that. We have so much time until the Alabama game still, and we're going to get into that. But through the Ole Miss win, it's now a possibility. And you're talking about if LSU finishes the season 10-2, let's just put the hypotheticals on the table. If they beat Alabama, they're obviously going to beat Arkansas and Texas A&M and UAB. If they beat Alabama, you're 10-2. Go to the SEC championship. You either play Georgia or Tennessee. You beat them. Do you go to the college football playoffs? It's a hard decision I think I could make, but, and not just because I'm biased, I'd put LSU in there, obviously. But I think LSU definitely gets in there if they play Tennessee in the SEC championship and beat them. If you beat Tennessee in the SEC championship, then that leads to, do you put Tennessee or do you put Georgia in? I think you keep LSU in because they showed you that they could beat Alabama. They beat an unranked Tennessee, in the SEC championship. And then I think you'd probably end up putting Georgia in the playoffs and keeping. I don't think it'd make Tennessee fans happy, but then it shows you, okay, LSU can beat Tennessee, and maybe you keep Tennessee in there. I don't know. Much to talk about. That's the committee's decision, because maybe you don't put LSU in there at all. Maybe you keep them out, but unlikely. A 10-2 team has never made it into the playoffs, and by then LSU would be 11-2 technically if they won the SEC championship. But that's all hypotheticals because you have to beat Bama first, and then you're looking at beating either Georgia or Tennessee in an SEC championship, which is very hard. This is a very different team, obviously, from that Tennessee game, but still, you're facing a good Tennessee team that has already beaten Alabama. So, in a week and a few days from now, you play Bama at home at night. You're coming off a huge win, 2 huge wins. Your offense is playing really, really good. Your defense is playing really, really good. Your O-line has fixed itself. Your special teams has improved significantly. That's one thing. Penalties and special teams is gonna have to be wiped off the table, cleaned up for this Alabama game. You can't have that. You can't have special teams mistakes against Alabama. You can't. Especially if you're forcing Alabama to punt in situations. It's almost like, okay, if Alabama's punting, maybe we just don't put a returner back there to not even risk it. So, you got to clean that up. Obviously, on special teams. Did much better against Ole Miss this week. Let's just hope it stays like that. O-line, put Dellinger back in if he's healthy, or do you keep Frazier in? Because the O-line did spectacular this weekend or last weekend. Against Ole Miss. So do you disrupt what's going on there? I don't know. I'm not a huge O-line person. I don't know if I can make that decision, but we'll see what happens with that. You're getting Major Burns back. You're getting Jack Bech back. Got some players back. I think LSU has a huge chance. As of now, I like most people, I have Bama, but that may change. I may find LSU's path to victory a little more enticing and popular to look at. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. No one cares. We'll look at that later on. So I think we're almost at 50 minutes. I think that's all I want to talk about for today. We're obviously gonna get into more Bama talk as the season goes on. Was it Brian Kelly's birthday today or yesterday? I think it was today, wasn't it? No. It was yesterday's. I think it was yesterday. So happy birthday to him. The players look happy to celebrate his birthday. They got him a cake and everything. So happy birthday to him. LSU just looks like a team right now. You saw in the video of when they were at practice giving Brian Kelly the cake. They just looked happy coming off that win. I think this team can do great things. And I'm just excited. And I'm like a kid waiting for Christmas, like a week before Christmas almost. This Alabama game can't come soon enough. You got this week's almost over, and then you got a week to wait. So we'll see. I think a lot of the country right now, and a lot of ESPN, CBS talks about it. This LSU team's on the rise, and even if you go 9-3 for the season, huge win under Brian Kelly. But we'll see where it goes from there. This team just looks happy right now. They look like in the place they need to be in. And speaking of happy, Jaden Daniels, I mean, it makes me smile when I see him smile after a touchdown or a big play. 'Cause you know that he knows that he's a dog and he's just making big plays. And it's so funny to see him smile because he knows he's good. But he's a quarterback I've seen that's just so calm and collected in any situation and never really backs down from anything. You never see any emotion on him when bad things are happening to the LSU football team. So it's just something you like to see in a quarterback. He's a great guy and just such a good quarterback. And like I said, if he plays like he plays against Ole Miss, or even better, you have an LSU team that can potentially upset Alabama. And also, one thing I forgot to mention is how LSU will start. Obviously, we've seen that they can come back, but it's ideal that we don't start slow and we have a fast start so that we're not trying to come back from, let's say you're down 2 scores or 3 scores. That's ideal. I think LSU's gonna come play football. Like I said, I'm gonna delve deeper into Alabama. Next video, the next couple videos, but you know, it took Alabama to start get a little bit to start getting a rhythm on Mississippi State, so that shows hope for LSU. Alabama did not score. Let me look by the at the play-by-play, but I know they definitely didn't score the first drive against Mississippi State. I'm trying to see if they scored the second drive. So yeah, Alabama did have to punt a couple times against Mississippi State, so that shows hope. That shows hope for LSU. And also, well, I think I'll wait for next video to delve deeper into this. So, thank you for watching. Again, I'm trying to get better and better every week. Say it every video, but I really am. I hope those watching are enjoying my content. I'm gonna try to get a lot of out for this Alabama week, and bye week and week of Alabama. I'm gonna try to get as much out as possible. School's been busy, so it's been kind of hard. And that video yesterday, that video got deleted, so which kind of sucked. But yes, I am trying to get better and better every week. This is obviously a huge week for LSU. It's kind of crazy that this determines the who's going to the SEC championship by this game. Funny and crazy, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm like a kid on Christmas, a week before Christmas. This game's always huge for me. Always love seeing LSU Alabama. It was like even a close game last year, 20-14. You only lost by 6 points. So let's see if our defense can disrupt that potent Alabama offense. We'll see. I think that's huge right there. It's just worrying about that offense of Alabama's. But we'll see. So again, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Consider subscribing. There's a freaking fly. There's a bell icon somewhere on the video that you can click, so every time I upload, you'll see it. Please share this video. Let people know about me and my channel. I'd greatly appreciate that. And thank you for watching. So again, a week and about 2 days till Alabama. Get excited, have some hope. It's a night game, which you love to see, a night game versus Alabama. So you have all day for festivities. That's Saturday, and you have that all day to get ready. We'll see. We'll see what happens, baby. I'm excited. All right. Again, thank you for watching, and go Tigers.